Alright guys, after our first round of priming, I found I had to do quite a bit more work to really clean this up and get it to where I wanted it to be. So as you can see, we did a lot more sanding, added a little more filler, and now we're going to prime it again and see how well we end up. Because I really kind of want this to come out really nicely, so we're going to do a little bit, we're going to keep doing this until we get it just right. Alright guys, now that we have all our primer laid on the model, we're going to wet sand the entire underside of the car just to make sure that we get rid of all of our seam lines, which it looks like we're good here. Looks like all the seam lines are gone. Everything here, all our filler pieces. I'm gonna have to clean this up a little bit more. And here we have all of our filler here. Looks like it's good. All of our filler here looks like it's good. So we're going to wet sand the entire thing just to smooth all the primer out. It's an important step before paint. You make to make sure that the primer is smooth so that the paint will lay smooth on the body. And smooth preparation of the body is the key to a really good looking paint job. So right now we're just going to take a look at everything here. We're going to sand everything down. We're going to clean it all up. And then we're going to get ready for paint. Now when you're sanding, you have to, if you listen to your sandpaper, it'll let you know when you've sanded enough. You have to listen and you have to feel for it, because it'll start to feel smoother and it'll sound less rough as you're sanding. And once you get to that point, that's where you want to stop, as you've smoothed out the primer enough so that when the paint lays on it, it'll give you a nice smooth finish. You can see how rough that sounds there, if you guys can hear that. And as we smooth it out, it's going to start to sound a little bit different. So we're going to go ahead and finish wet sanding this entire body. And then we're going to look and see what else we have to do to get it ready for paint. Okay guys, we have wet sanded everything down. We've cleaned up this edge here. And again, let's take a look at this. You can see that there, looks like it's all one piece now. I think it's going to look much better on the finished model than that really sloppy fit that it had before. So now we're just going to give this a good wash, get all that dust off of it, and then we're going to do a couple more tricks before we get ready for paint. I'm going to show you guys how to make the badges, which is going to be tough on this tiny little Mercedes badge, but I'm going to show you guys the tricks that I've learned recently that works pretty well as far as getting these badges to look just right. Alright guys, just a little tool tip. Use an old toothbrush, preferably an old one, not like your wife's current toothbrush, because I don't think she'd be too happy with that. And this makes a great cleaning tool for getting to all the nooks and crannies in the body when you're cleaning them out, such as I had to do after doing all the wet sanding on the primer here. So you can just get into everything to clean it all out as you're getting ready for paint. Okay guys, got another little tip for you. When building a model car, you want to have the panel lines, add some shadows to make them look a little more realistic. What I do is I like to add the panel line paint before I paint the model, so that as the paint lays in, it'll cover the entire body, but the gaps will always be a little bit darker, and it kind of darkens in the color of the paint you're using, so that it provides more of a shadow, which to me looks a little more realistic, as opposed to a stark, really dark line. So that you'll see the panel gap, but it won't be just so such a hard contrast. it'll look more like a soft shadow, which is what would look like in the real car. So what I'm going to do is add panel line paint to all of the panels here, and then we'll move on and continue. Okay guys, one thing I noticed about this kit, the seam for the door panel split comes up to here, but then doesn't split the door trim here. So if you open this door, you'll never be able to get in this car because you're going to have to hop over this trim, as that should be split along with the door. So we're going to put an engraved line in there just to make sure that it looks a little more realistic. Alright guys, now we have our gap in the trim as well as leading right into the doors. So now we're going to put our panel line paint into the doors. Alright guys, so this should give us all of the shadows that we need when we put paint on the body. Really curious to see how the vents here are going to come out, as I tried that, just an experiment to see how that's going to work. Okay guys, now we're going to start detailing our badges on this particular model. Now the way we're going to do that is we're going to use the same trick that I used previously on another build, in which case we're going to apply the bare metal foil first before we apply our paint. And we're going to use the bare metal foil to cover the entire badge. Then after we apply our paint, we're going to very, very carefully use some thinner to reveal the bare metal foil under the paint. It's kind of tricky, especially when you look at the badges, how lightly engraved they are here. So it's going to be tricky. Hopefully this works without ruining the paint that I'm about to put on this thing. So for now, I've already applied the bare metal foil. Now I'm just going to cut very close around the badges so that we don't have too much left over that'll show under the paint. Alright, so now we're just going to make sure that our bare metal foil is burnished down right over the entire badge. Now you may have noticed I also have tape here. I use the tape to make it easier to remove the bare metal foil. Because of how thin it is, sometimes you'll pull it up and it'll tear at the part that you actually want to foil. And then all of the adhesive from the bare metal foil gets on the model and it's kind of a pain to clean up. So if I'm doing something like this, all of that stays right on the tape and I can actually lift the tape off and remove all of the excess without the danger of damaging the part that I'm actually trying to foil. So now I'm going to clean all that out, cut out the excess. Still have to burnish down a little bit more. Very important that you have the entire item that you want, that you're foiling, burnished down so that you don't have any issues. Now I find that one of these cotton buds with the tightly wound cotton that comes to a point is a great tool for burnishing bare metal foil. Okay. Let's just make sure here. There we go. We gotta bring that in a little more. Okay. And now we're going to take, always use a new blade. And we're going to just cut as close as we can right around the object that we're foiling. Okay guys, here you can see the badge is completely foiled in, and you just have to worry that only thing left to worry about now is whether the edges of the foil will show through the paint. But the foil is so thin that usually that is not a problem. We're going to find out when we paint this thing. Now, the only reason to do this, guys, really is because you want to have the body color in between the spaces of the badge. Okay, guys, we're going to turn our attention back to the chassis. We're going to start to add some color to it because we need to add some detail to that. I mean, there's not much there, but we're going to work with what we got. And we're going to start by spraying some Vallejo dark aluminum onto the engine block and transmission so that it looks like there's actually something under there. Now, I'm going to spray it in a fashion that I've used before that's going to show some wear and tear on it. You're going to start just basically by hitting the center mass of whatever you're painting with the majority of your color, and then thinning it out as you get to the edges. Just makes it look a little more used, add some age to it, and also add some scale to it, I think. Then what we're going to do is turn our attention to the rear diff. Now for this, we're going to use Vallejo steel. I wanted to use several different types of metallic tones because I thought it'd look better. Alright guys, got a little painting done on the chassis and about to unwrap everything now. Did what I could with what I had to work with here on this chassis to detail it out, give it a little visual interest. So we're going to unwrap it now, then I'll tell you about what I did. Okay guys, so now we have just a little bit of detail painting done on the chassis here. There really isn't much down here to do. So what I did was I decided to paint the engine block. I was going to do some more detailing on the panel, but you know what? This is just a fun, time killer build here while I am working out some details on the Fiero build. So I didn't want to get too crazy with it, just wanted to have a little fun with it, and that's exactly what I'm doing here. So you all saw all the extra bits and things that I did down here. So now I painted the rear diff, the front this looks like, not even sure what it's supposed to be. I think that's supposed to represent the control arms, but it looks almost like it's got a front axle, almost like it's an all-wheel drive car, which these cars never were. But I'm just going to work with that. I painted the engine and transmission assembly in dark aluminum, and then I just went and weathered it a little bit using some all-clad burnt iron. The rear diff was done with Vallejo steel. Same thing that I did with the was it steel that I used? Yes, it was steel. Vallejo steel for the rear diff, the gas tank, and this front control arm, axle, whatever this thing is supposed to be assembly. And then again, went over it with the burnt iron from All-Clad, just to weather it up and dirty it up a little bit. I'm going to have to do a little bit of a cleanup here on some areas that I got a little tiny bit of overspray. But for the most part, it came out really nice. Really adds something to the chassis, which really had nothing. Now I am toying with the idea of fabricating an entire exhaust system for the car. I can get a good idea of what they look like. I'm not really sure. May have to look at the Tamiya kit. But I am thinking about doing that, and I did miss painting this bit of the drive shaft where it hits the rear diff, so I'm gonna have to touch that up. But overall, I'm happy with the way this turned out, as it adds a little bit of detail to the chassis, because that's where it's sorely lacking. But again, it's a very simple kit. Not really looking to reinvent the wheel here, just trying to make it look a little more interesting. Now, I did start on the interior. That I didn't have such good luck with. My airbrush started splattering a little bit, but that wasn't the real problem. The real problem was that I noticed that I didn't remove the seams on these seats here, which in a convertible, there's just no way that's going to fly. I didn't notice that until after I started painting it. And I custom mixed this color because I was going for almost a creamy, leathery type look. Not sure if I got the color that I wanted here anyway, so I may just end up redoing this entire interior again. The tonneau cover for the roof, or the folded roof section here, came out much better before the airbrush started splattering. But I'm just not happy with that. So instead of trying to continue painting it and try and fix this, I decided I'm just going to stop here because I'm going to have to sand all of these mold lines off. Because I just think it wouldn't look good if I left it like that. Let's take a quick peek of it in the car. After going through all of this work and just having fun with this vintage kit and trying to up the detail on it and seeing, you know, just how good we can do with something that's kind of simple and primitive like this. I am liking the tan interior with what's going to be the bright red exterior. But as you can see there, the mold lines are so visible that there's no way. I just can't leave them that way, because that will bug me every time I look at the model. So that's going in for some repair work. And if I can get it out of the car. Just a slight bump in the road for this build so far. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to work on repainting the interior. And I might actually go with a different color. I haven't decided yet, guys. I'm still working out the kinks here. One thing I did want to add to the interior are, as you can see here, if you can see through the shine, I just painted them. These are Iceman Collection window cranks. As when you look at the interior, you see that there's nothing there. It's just a plain door panel, nothing really to look at. So I decided I'm going to add some detail. And I remembered that I ordered these window cranks. And so then I hit them with a little Revol chrome, because this is a Mercedes, and you know you got to have the chrome on the interior. So I'm going to let that sit for a few days while I fix what's going on in here and decide whether I really want this color or if I want to try something different. As you can see through the camera, it looks actually a little bit brighter. Actually, to the camera, it looks more like the color that I was going for than what it actually is. But, I don't know. Maybe I'll just leave, I don't know. I haven't decided yet. Don't worry, you guys will be the first to know. Alright, guys, we're going to jump right back on the build. Alright, guys. Went back over and cleaned up the seam on the top of the seats here. And I figured while I was at it, I was going to get rid of this injection pin mark that was bothering me in between the seats. I'm not going to bother with the others, as they'll be covered over by flocking and carpeting. But that one would have been totally visible. As the shifter, it's going to be mounted further ahead of where that injection pin mark was. I didn't realize that at first. And didn't realize how visible that was going to be. So I got rid of that. Got rid of the seam on the top of the seats. So we're ready to throw another coat of paint on this thing as soon as I decide exactly what I'm going to do with the color. Which is kind of what I'm torn with right now, is trying to figure out what color to make this interior. So I think we're going to end the video right here. It's, we've gotten a lot of progress done on the build. And I think it's about time to cut this video short. It's gone on long enough. And just a quick little peek at a little side project. Just thought I'd play with a little Gundam here. My buddy Marty gave me this, and I put it together and decided to do some weathering. And it was a fun little side project. Kind of like a side quest in a video game. So, came out really cool, I think. I really like the way it looks. That's what it was originally, and this is what it is now. And I think that the weathering just brings a whole new kind of life to it. I'll give you guys a look at the back. There's going to be a little video about this later on the channel. Looks kind of cool. I'm really happy with the way it came out. Got to do some more mecha stuff on the channel. Alright guys, that's enough of that. I'm going to leave you with a look at the body here, the chassis, and the interior now that we're going to be redoing it. And when we come back on this build, we're going to hopefully finally get some color on the body. And then we'll continue with our tutorial on how to do the badging. Alright guys, that's it. I'm going to leave you with this final image of this mess on my bench because there's always a bunch of projects going on now. And I will see you on the next one.